Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite. And if this is your first time at the channel, welcome. I am a pretty average recreational runner with personal bests of 2:52 at the marathon distance, 80 minutes at the half marathon. In this winter, I'm currently trying to break my personal record at the 5K distance, hoping to not only dip under the 18-minute mark, but hopefully go a little bit quicker. So if you're interested in following, training videos, that's mostly what I do around here, sort of an ongoing training log, tracking my progress at a variety of distances throughout the years. Feel free to subscribe. But outside of that, the subject of today's video is something I have gone through different trials and many different errors with over the several years that I've been running now, which is sort of like dialing in and finding good cold weather running gear. And it may sound pretty simple. You wear more layers, you wear thicker layers, warmer materials, and you're good to go. But winter is a very interesting season where I live over in Pennsylvania, because we'll have a few weeks straight of temperatures that are in the 50 to 60 degree Fahrenheit range. It can get humid at times, rainy once you get to January like it is right now. We are currently in a week where there has been a snowstorm. There are 30 to 40 mile an hour constant winds each day, snow blowing all over the place, and just a lot of pesky, frigid, cold weather to deal with. And these different elements and how they range throughout the weeks and months of the winter, present some challenges when it comes to what you need to wear. My goal with this video is to give you some ideas and some options when it comes to winter running gear that I have tried, I have tested, and continued to wear throughout recent months and years during these colder months that will hopefully make colder weather running more comfortable and accessible for you. I want to keep this as simple as possible. I'm not going to give you 10 options per thing. I'm going to give you my single most favorite piece of gear for each thing. I think when it comes to cold weather running gear, there are really two general camps to consider. One is stuff you probably shouldn't overthink. There is, I know I mentioned it earlier, you can't always just go with the thicker gear, the thicker fabric, multiple layers. There are some things that are as simple as that. For me, gloves have always been a thing where no matter how thick or thin they are, no matter what material they are, I'm either going to sweat inside of the gloves and get cold, or they're just not going to be thick enough to actually protect my hands from the cold. So I'm not going to be talking about gloves here, because honestly, you could wear a thick pair of wool socks on your hands and they would probably function similarly. And I'm not going to talk about beanie caps or skull caps, whatever you might call them in your circle. Again, I find that, really any beanie cap works for me. I have one that I got from, participating in a race. It was one of the free pieces of gear we got with our sort of race goodie bag, and it's fleece lined, but it's normal cotton on the outside. That one works for me when it is cold enough that I want to wear a beanie cap and it covers my ears. So those are the only real boxes I would check. So I'm going to be specifically talking about things you wear over your torso and your legs. So really pants/tights, jackets, base layers, that kind of stuff, because those are the things I have found are the most complicated. Let's first start with the things you're going to be wearing on your torso. My favorite base layer for cold weather running, no matter if it is, 15 degrees Fahrenheit outside with 20 mile an hour winds, or if it is in the 40s, nearing the 50s by the end of your run, the Harrier long sleeve from Tracksmith. That whole sort of 6-month period from really October to April, this is probably the piece of gear that I'm using close to the most often, and I find that the fabric is absolutely perfect. Again, whether you're running in really, really cold weather, I've raced and trained 5Ks races all the way up to long runs in sub 20 degree Fahrenheit weather with just this on, and it has been warm enough for me. It is also like breathable enough where if you do start to sweat, your sweat doesn't really stick around quite long enough for it to start, cooling you back down, which presents a whole other number of issues when it gets to be cold enough where you are sweating, but then your sweat is like almost freezing on you. And this shirt seems to eliminate a lot of those different problems, a lot of the guesswork when it comes to wearing a single layer like a long sleeve shirt that really presents a solid option for a wide range of winter temperatures. It's 89% merino wool, which is probably my favorite running material for cold weather running, and 11% nylon. The only caveat with this is it does come on a bit of a pricey side when it comes to the regular retail price of $95. Tracksmith tends to have like some decent sales, not all the time, but definitely towards like the end of the year, maybe towards like November and December. But also they're a great website when it comes to people who have many different email addresses like me. My school email still works. I have a work email. I have 2 personal emails. Every time you put your email in there, you can get 15% off your first order. So look into doing that if you're not really wanting to commit nearly $100 to a long sleeve shirt. But I have multiple of these. I think I have 3 of them, and they are a regular staple of my cold weather running, and they work great as a base layer. And when I say base layer, I say base layer for a reason. It sort of implies that there are other layers that go on top of it. And the next piece of running gear, if the Harrier tee from Tracksmith is not my most used piece of gear during these colder months, then this one certainly is. This is the Patagonia Houdini jacket. I would say that this is mostly like a wind shell, so if you are running in extremely wet climates where it's regularly raining hard and raining constantly, this won't keep you the absolute driest. It is quote unquote water resistant, but I would say it is not waterproof. I've gotten wet running in like torrential downpours in this, but it does do a good job if it's like pretty humid out or there's a light mist, or I've run in it when it's snowing quite a bit, and it keeps me dry enough and warm enough when it comes to that. And I would say my favorite pairing of base layer with something like a wind shell or a very light breathable jacket on top is the Tracksmith Harrier long sleeve. And this, if I could wear this combination pretty much every single day in the winter when temperatures are ranging from anything from 10 degrees Fahrenheit to really like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, this is like an award-winning combo in my opinion. The Houdini jacket, for like good running jackets, I think isn't that crazy expensive, and for the amount that I wear it, it doesn't feel like that big of a financial commitment at $109. Again, you can also find sales, find promo codes for Patagonia or other sites like REI that you would buy a jacket like this on. It is made of 100% recycled nylon, and it is extremely, extremely lightweight, like in the 3-ounce range for the whole entire jacket. I'm about 5'11", and I have a size medium for this, and it's not like to the skin form fitting, but it isn't like loose and baggy. It pretty much fits me absolutely perfectly at a medium size. And again, if I were to recommend a single piece of winter running gear, this would probably be like my top piece that I would recommend. This solved a whole ton of problems for me back when I was getting started running as like a very cheap, frugal college student who had no idea what to wear when they ran outside. This bridges the gap between, again, a very wide range of temperatures and conditions from, like very cold, frigid temperatures to high winds. This gets the job done. It is also like very pack friendly. You can pack it down. It all fits in this tiny little pocket on the chest. Favorite piece of cold weather running gear easily. I wear it in almost all of my videos for at least one of my workouts or multiple of my runs every week. So check this out if you need a good winter running jacket. The only other thing that you probably wouldn't consider all that much, but I find, again, when it gets to be like it is right now, where it's sub 20 degrees and extremely windy out, that comes in extreme handy are like neck and face gaiters. This one is one that I stole from my wife. I think she used to use it as like a headband, a hairband, and I just kind of took it and commandeered it for myself and my running. And this is one that I got for free from a Strava challenge like 4 or 5 years ago that I regularly use in the winter. And again, these are just things that you kind of like pop over your head, wear along your neck. You can bring them up over your face. Sometimes I like pull it up over my hat, so it's almost like a form-fitting hood that you can just add on to anything. And again, these are so incredibly cheap. They're just, I think, made of like normal cotton, polyester, whatever it might be. And there's something that, again, you don't think a ton about, but come in extreme handy. So when it comes to everything from the waist up, I think the keys to success, at least from my own perspective, a good base layer like the Tracksmith Harrier long sleeve, a good wind shell or light jacket like the Patagonia Houdini, wear whatever hat or gloves you want, and then one of these just in case it is windy or the cold is sort of biting at your face a little bit. These come in handy like crazy. So that is everything from the waist up. I will now tackle everything from the waist down, which is really just going to be sort of like running pants and full tights for running. And again, my goal here is not to bog you down with a ton of options. I'm just going to tell you what works the absolute best for me in terms of if I had to recommend a single piece of gear, this is what I would give you. So let's start with the pants. Now for the pants, I'm gonna give you two options actually. One that is slightly cheaper than the other. I'll start with the expensive one. That again is a Tracksmith product, the Session pants. They also have Session shorts. So if you're familiar with the Tracksmith Session pants or shorts, they each use the same materials. Obviously one is just shorts length at like a 5-inch inseam, I believe, and the other is a full length pant, as you can see. And it has that one back pocket, just like the shorts do, interchangeable really. I absolutely love these pants. Again, when it comes to what I am showing you right now, these are things that, like when the laundry is all clean, these are the first things that I am wearing and reaching for on a regular basis. These are a polyester elastane blend pair of pants that I wouldn't say are the absolute warmest, but I find that my torso gets a lot colder and like temperature-wise fluctuates much more than my legs do. So I can essentially wear pretty much like anything in terms of like thin material in the winter without getting too incredibly uncomfortable. If the winds are really high and it's cold enough, I might feel it with like a thinner pair of tights or pants and be a little bit uncomfortable. But again, I have run in extremely cold temperatures in these Session pants before, and I find that I am completely fine. So again, they have that nice little back pocket, but they also have side pockets. So they're, you know, functional in everyday life, casual sorts of circumstances. But when it comes to running, I think these are great. They're great to wear when maybe you have like a cold race and you just need a pant to wear on top to warm up in. They're as good as it gets when it comes to that. A bit overpriced for that task at about $125 of retail. But again, I got these on sale. I would still say that Tracksmith is like worth the retail price based on the things that I've tried from them that I continuously wear. They have some products that I don't absolutely love, like the Van Cortlandt line of things, their singlets and their shorts with that just feel like sort of like typical mesh that I don't love and don't seem to like wick away moisture all that much. But this like Session line of fabrics and products works a lot better for me. So if I were to recommend one pair of like colder weather pants, again, they're a bit on the thinner side, so if you need something warmer, wait for my next recommendation, the Tracksmith Session pant. My slightly cheaper recommendation would be the Nike Phenom sweatpants. And again, these are very frequently on sale. Their regular retail price isn't all that much cheaper. They're like $95, but looking at my laptop right now, this exact same pair is on sale for $75, and they're great. They get the job done. The back pocket seems to be meant for like iPhone 5s and before. It's pretty hard to like fit my phone in that back pocket if you're someone who needs gear that accommodates like running with a phone. But again, has 3 total pockets, and on the inside it is lined with a bit of a warmer material. Say when the temperatures get, again, like sub 20 degrees, these are probably a bit more comfortable than those Session pants from Tracksmith. And again, they are much cheaper. So currently $50 cheaper. So I would recommend these if you are looking to not spend over $100 on a pair of winter running pants. These get the job done on a regular basis. Don't love them when it's like maybe like 40 degrees to 50 degrees. At that point, I'm either reaching for something like the session pants, or I'll just wear a pair of half tights or shorts. But yeah, these are a very solid pair of winter running pants that I would definitely recommend. And then if it's extremely windy, in regards to things that you probably don't have to think a ton about, again, in that category of like beanie caps, gloves, that kind of stuff, really any of those seem to like work at the same level. It's always nice to have like a pair of like normal sort of tech material sweatpants. This is a pair that I got from, I think it was either like Ross or TJ Maxx or Marshalls for like $8 a couple years ago. I do yard work in these quite a bit. I mow the yard in these, but they're also really good for those windier days. Seems like this sort of like tech material that you would find on like snow gear seems to block the wind pretty well. So just sort of like putting these on over a pair of running briefs gets the job done when it is super, super windy and you don't have that indoor running option. You know, just a normal pair of tech pants, a good thing to have in your arsenal. The last thing I will recommend before we shift from clothing to just one more piece of gear are tights. And again, I'll give you two options, one a bit more on the expensive side and then one on the cheaper side. My pair of tights for cold weather running that I would recommend, and you would probably see these in almost all of my recent videos, are these Tracksmith turnover tights. Again, they make these in the half tight variety, formerly the Reggie tights, now the turnover tights, and the full tight variety. So yeah, I regularly wear these so incredibly much, and they're essentially just a full length version of what the Reggies used to be, which are now the turnovers. They solved quite a bit of issues by including a nice drawstring now, so you can sort of like customize the tightness around your waist, as well as 4 pockets in the back, one being a larger zip pocket that I phone in vertically when it comes to wearing these, and then 3 pockets that I have comfortably fit at least 2 gels in each. These are a polyamide elastane blend, and I think these, among the other Tracksmith products, do really well at, again, being very dynamic in terms of ranging from like 10 to 15 degree Fahrenheit temperatures all the way up to like 30 to 40 degree temperatures really, really well. They're also extremely comfortable. Sometimes I find that tights are a bit too rigid, like the fabric isn't all that stretchy. I'm fine with it being pretty much skin tight, but if it's going to be skin tight, there needs to be some flexibility to it. I've run into some problems with some other tights, namely like the Adidas tights before. They're just like rigid materials and not all that comfortable. These, while being form-fitting, very flexible, very breathable, very comfortable. I do a lot of fast workouts in these tights and they feel absolutely amazing. I may very well be racing an upcoming 5K in these tights, as well as the temperatures are supposed to be really cold. So I trust these tights with pretty much every cold weather run. Again, they run on the expensive side, $125, just like the session pants, but I got these during a Black Friday sale for much cheaper than that. So yeah, I would definitely look out for like different colorways that might not be as popular. I guess the brown colorway isn't all that popular because I got these for well less than $100. I think I got these for like $75. And for that price, these are the greatest tights on the market. So if you can get them on sale, get them. Honorable mention for my top full-length tights are, of course, going to be the Janji groundwork tights. All of these pretty much that I'm mentioning when it comes to tights or even pants come in like half tight or short varieties and full tight or full pant varieties. Same thing with the groundwork tights. If you're familiar with the Janji groundwork half tights, one of my favorite pairs of all time. They have a great set of like storage pockets everywhere. I think there are a total of 2 on each side and then 1 in the back. So 5 pockets, not including even the internal pockets where you can put a key and that kind of stuff. These are $98 and I actually like them so much that I have 2 pairs of these just because I would reach for them so incredibly often, because when it comes to like marathon training in the winter in the cold weather, you want to have an option, especially for me if I'm like driving out to a trail or I'm just carrying a lot of fuel with me. You want an option that can carry all that fuel without having to like hold it or take a belt or put it in like a handheld. you can just put them all in your tights. These are the older version. I also have the newer version. The newer version seems to be a little bit thinner and a little bit more flexible. The older version feels a bit thicker. It's almost like a wetsuit, like a thin wetsuit material, which doesn't feel great once the temperatures start to climb. So if you start your run and it's really cold, but it gets progressively warmer, these might not be as good of an option as I would say like the Tracksmith turnover tights are, or the newer version of the John G groundwork full tights, but still they are easily like very, very close second place to the turnover tights from Tracksmith, and I really, really enjoy these. The last piece of apparel I will share, these are pretty much the thing that like opened me up to wearing full length tights instead of like trying to wear like cotton sweatpants on my runs. This is the first piece of gear where it like sort of was revealed to me that, hey, there's good running gear out there that is made specifically for running. And those are the Tesla tights. Not Tesla like the car, but I guess this is an older pair where they still spelled it the same as that. Now I think it's just like TSLA. These tights are all over Amazon. I've gotten them ranging from like $15 to $25, and they're very nice because they are like fleece lined on the inside. So for those much colder runs, these are going to be like your best friend if you are trying to pinch some pennies, get multiple pairs of the same thing. I have 4 pairs of these, 2 black ones, a gray one, and then a dark green one. And again, when it came to like trying to find good winter running gear early on in my running journey, these were some of the first pieces of running gear that I invested in. And for being so cheap, the quality has held up. I've been running in this particular pair for probably close to 5 years now, and there's no holes or anything. There's some like pilling with the fleecy material and some of the more like high friction areas. But other than that, these do a great job of doing exactly what I want them to do, which is just like keep me warm and be functional out on the run. And they do exactly that. Again, if you are someone who's running like early in the morning, for instance, and it starts colder on your run and it progressively gets warmer, these are tights where you will like start to feel that warm temperature a bit sooner because they do have that like warm fleece material. But outside of that, if you're just trying to like find a piece of tights for a good price, I would recommend the Tesla tights. Again, I think it's now spelled TSLA instead of like TESLA on Amazon. So that is all the gear I recommended. I would say my favorite running gear in general comes from Tracksmith. I know they're not everybody's cup of tea and they can get expensive, but I try to be a little bit more savvy with like promo codes, finding coupons, you know, really leveraging sales around like holiday times when it comes to buying gear from Tracksmith. But I have to give it to them. I think they have the best running gear for cold weather. And if I could wear the Harrier long sleeve with the turnover full tights and the Patagonia Houdini jacket every single day from like November through March, I would wear that exact outfit. And that is really all the apparel I have to recommend for you. I tried to keep this simple with limited options, and I hope I accomplished that. The very last thing, sort of an optional add-on that I would recommend to you if you don't feel like doing, you know, the screwing sheet screws in the bottom of your running shoes method, which I've seen some people do, work for some people when it gets sort of like icy or snowy out there and you need some extra traction. Just invest in like a cheaper pair of trail running shoes. About 5 years ago now, I bought a brand new pair of Hoka Speedgoats on, I think it was Mercari at the time, for like, I think they were $40 maybe. It was somebody who had multiple pairs of them. The size didn't fit. They came to me. They looked completely unused. Even if they had like 40 or 50 miles on them, I didn't really care because I just needed something that would enable me to get out the door when I didn't have that indoor running option for days where it was snowy. I tried running in the snow with road shoes. Didn't work out very well. I think I fell a time or two when I was out running on the only terrain that was really accessible in like a local YMCA parking lot, just doing a loop after loop after loop. And I decided, you know what, I'll get some okay trail running shoes so that I can continue my running even when the roads and the sidewalks are snowy. And with fresh snow particularly, I think really any pair of trail shoes will get the job done. So there are so many options now when it comes to running shoes. You can find like okay functional trail shoes for like $50 to $70. So it's good to just sort of have that option in your back pocket when you want to go for a run outside, but maybe there's a fresh coat of snow on the ground or it's a bit slushy in some places. The Speed Goats, they've worked well for me. I'm sure there's some old pairs floating out there, and yeah, they get the job done for that. So optional bonus item, cheap pair of trail shoes for snowy running if you're a road runner. And that is it for my winter running gear recommendations. Honestly, you could probably run in any warm gear, but I'm somebody who likes to, you know, even more than just like feeling warm and braving the elements, feel comfortable in balancing the cold temps with, you know, having a certain amount of breathability, not sweating too much under all of my gear. And I think the things that I have recommended in this video will do that for you. If I missed anything, if I missed any top cold weather running gear, let me know down in the comments. If you agree with me and think some of the gear that I mentioned is absolutely top shelf, let me know as well, or just generally recommend me some of the things you've been using and doing to battle the cold weather elements when it comes to this winter's running. Other than that, I think that's it. So we'll catch up soon. Peace.